Hello and welcome back. In this tutorial, I'll walk you through Kaa Asset Actions. I'll explain what they are and how to apply them in your Kaa dashboard. Note that in this video, we'll be working with assets. If you're unfamiliar with how to use them, check out my previous tutorial on asset management. Links are in the description. So let's begin. You can find asset actions in the Asset List widget settings. What are asset actions? Asset actions are tasks that can be executed on a specific asset directly from your dashboard. These actions can be simple, like edit or delete, or they can be custom actions that trigger your own backend logic. I'll start by adding the update and delete actions. Once that's done, a menu will appear next to each item in the asset list. These actions are pretty self-explanatory. Now let's talk about custom actions. There are two types of custom asset actions: rule execute and update variable. We'll start with update variable because it's much simpler. This action lets us copy a value from asset field to a dashboard variable. I'll demonstrate. I'll add a select name action. That action will simply copy the name of our asset to a dashboard variable. In the settings, first, variable name to store the value. There we put name of a dashboard variable. It'll be created automatically. Next, asset field. This is where you choose the asset field you want to copy into dashboard variable. In this case, I'll select name. And finally, default value. This is the fallback value used if the asset field is undefined. That's all for the update variable setup. Let's test it out. Nothing happened at first, but if you check the dashboard variables, you'll see that our variable was updated to Office 2. Let's update it again to Office 1. And yes, it works. You can use this variable in different widgets, such as the HTML widget. We'll explore dashboard variables in more detail in a separate video. There's one issue with this. If I reload the page, the variable becomes undefined. It only persists for the current session, so you'll need to update it after each reload, or manually set a default value in the HTML widget. If the asset doesn't have a name, like this one here, the fallback value will be used. But after reloading the page, it will once again be undefined. We're done with the update variable action. Now let's move on to the rule execute asset action. The rule execute action allows us to invoke rules on a specific asset through the asset list widget. To use it, we first need to create a rule. I haven't covered rules or the rule engine on this channel yet, but briefly, a rule is a piece of code that can be executed on the Kaa platform. For more details, check the links in the description. To keep things simple, I'll add a basic counter to each asset, and then create a rule that increments that counter. We'll trigger that rule using the rule execute action, so I'll go to Asset Management, then Asset Types, and add a counter field to the Office asset type. Next, I'll go back to the dashboard, add a counter column, and update the counter value for each asset. The second step is to create a rule. For this example, we don't need to dive deep into how the rule engine works. We just want to run a bit of code. I'll name it Increment. In the condition field, I'll write the code for our rule. Let's take a quick look at it. It's a simple JavaScript patch request used to update the asset. It accepts two parameters, asset ID and counter. We use the rule engine's toolbox to send the patch request. In the request, I increment the counter by 1. Every rule must return something, so in this case, I just return true. To recap, in order to use this rule, we'll need to pass 2 parameters, asset ID and counter. I'll show you how to do that next. So here's how we bring it all together. On the left side of the screen, we have our dashboard, and on the right, the rule engine with our single increment rule. In the dashboard, under Asset Action Settings, I'll add a new custom action called Increment. For the rule ID, I'll select the increment rule we just created. Because this rule needs input values, I'll enable Payload customization and specify the data I want to pass to the rule. In the settings, the form schema and UI schema options aren't necessary for this example. They're used when you want to build a user input form. I'll cover that in more detail in a future video. For now, we just want to pass values we already have, so we'll use the initial values option instead. Lastly, there's an option called Enable Security Visibility. We don't need it for this example either. It's related to user management, which I'll also cover in a future video. That's it. Our setup is complete. Let's test it out. In the rule engine, I'll enable traces so we can see if the rule crashes or not. And as you can see, it works fine. That wraps up everything about asset actions. I hope you found this video useful. We covered a lot, so if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Don't forget to publish your changes, and thanks for watching.